What if the secret to a truly fulfilling life was hidden in a simple jar? One bright morning, Professor Alaric walked into his classroom carrying a peculiar empty glass jar that gleamed under the sunlight streaming through the windows. His eyes twinkled with that unmistakable spark of curiosity, the kind that instantly pulled the attention of every student in the room. Today, he wasn't just going to lecture. He placed the jar carefully on the desk and reached beneath the table. Each one was carefully chosen, hefty and firm in his palm. One by one, he dropped them into the jar. Soon, the jar was packed tight with these massive rocks, and he paused to look at the students who were wide-eyed with curiosity. "Is the jar full?" he asked, his voice calm but compelling. It seemed impossible to fit anything more. Most of them nodded and murmured, "Yes, Professor, it's full." Alaric smiled knowingly. "Ah, but let's see." From beneath the table, he retrieved a bag of smaller pebbles and began pouring them into the jar. The pebbles rattled and rolled, slipping into the empty spaces between the big stones. Slowly, the jar seemed to swell, yet still there was room for more. This time some students hesitated, sensing there was more to the lesson. A few admitted, "No, not quite." "Exactly," Alaric said, tilting the jar slightly so the pebbles settled snugly between the gaps. "These pebbles represent the things in life that matter, but are not the essence of life itself. Your career achievements, your home, the projects you pour your energy into, they are significant, yet secondary to the most important pillars of your existence." He didn't stop there. The sand trickled in slowly, filling even the tiniest crevices left by the rocks and pebbles. Finally, he held up the jar and looked at his students, who now were leaning forward, fully captivated. "Is it full now?" "Yes, Professor." From his side table, he brought a small cup of water and poured it gently into the jar. The water seeped into every remaining gap, and the jar was truly full, perfectly packed. "Now it's complete," he said, his voice soft yet resonant with meaning. He set the jar down and gazed at the students. "This jar," he began, "is your life, the big rocks, your health, your passions, your dreams. If you focus first on the small, inconsequential things, you leave no room for the rocks. And when the rocks are missing, no matter how many pebbles or grains of sand you collect, life feels hollow." Then he added, "The pebbles represent other meaningful pursuits, the job that challenges you, the house you've always wanted, the titles or degrees you chase. They are important, yes, but they cannot replace the rocks." He let the silence linger a few heartbeats longer, then smiled. "And the sand. Ah, the sand is everything else. The day-to-day distractions, the endless notifications, the trivial arguments, the habits that don't build you up. They fill your time, but ultimately, they cannot give life its purpose." The students were quiet now, watching the jar intently. Alaric's voice dropped to a softer tone, almost intimate. "Life is finite, like this jar. But place your rocks first, your family, your health, your deepest passions, and everything else will find its place naturally." One curious student raised a hand. "Professor, and what about the water?" Alaric's smile deepened. "Ah, the water. It's the laughter with friends, the shared moments, the small joys that sneak into our busy lives. Even when life is full, there's always room for these. The water reminds us that amidst responsibilities and goals, happiness is not just in grand achievements. It's in fleeting moments, quiet mornings, a kind word, a cup of tea shared with a loved one." He leaned forward slightly, his eyes locking with theirs. "The lesson is simple. Prioritize the rocks first. Nurture them. Let the pebbles and sand come afterward, but never let them replace what truly matters. And always, always pour in the water, the small moments of joy, the spontaneous laughter, the little surprises that make life feel full." Alaric's voice grew firmer, almost urgent. "Because in the end, when your days are counted, it will be the rocks that define the weight and meaning of your life. The pebbles and sand fade, but the rocks endure. Place them wisely. Tend to them carefully. Let them be the foundation upon which everything else rests. He paused, letting the students absorb the depth of the metaphor, then concluded gently. Life is not about being endlessly busy. It's about being deliberate, thoughtful, and intentional. It's not about counting hours, tasks, or possessions. It's about counting the meaningful moments and the people who make your heart fuller. A student whispered almost to themselves, "So, it's about balance." "Exactly," Alaric said. "Balance is the key. Balance the rocks, the pebbles, the sand, and the water. Prioritize what gives your life weight and meaning. Enjoy the things that make life bright and joyful, and let go of what merely fills time without nourishing your soul." As the bell rang and students began to rise, many carried with them a new awareness, a quiet determination to reconsider how they spent their precious hours, to examine their rocks, and to fill their lives not with clutter, but with true purpose. And perhaps, somewhere in that simple glass jar, they found the secret to a life fully lived, a life where the big things always come first, the small things find their place, and joy, like water, seeps in to complete the picture.